what's the first thing you think of whenever you think of food? Oftentimes, it's something that you consume, that you'll eat, that'll replenish energy or nourish you whenever you wake up. Oftentimes, like things such as hamburger, pizza, sushi, all of it can be considered food. Anything that you consume or that you make and cook and put together and then eat. Merriam-Webster's dictionary actually states it as any nourishing substance that is eaten, drunk, or otherwise taken into the body to sustain life, provide energy, or promote growth. Using this concept, many people believe that that's the only benefit of food, or like it's just there to because you need it to live, it's a necessity. When in all reality, it can also act as a joint for all communities and cultures and different divisions of the world that don't come together and don't see eye to eye all the time, because it breaks those cultural barriers and can act as a way of bringing people together. You can have meals, join people together around the table, just something simple like going out and having fun with friends, go restaurants, go. Anything with food can also act as a way of breaking down that barrier and joining communities together and having more diversity among people. In Spain specifically, they have their own way of producing their food, as stated by a news company in Europe called The Pioneer. Spanish cuisine is all about fresh food based on ingredients available locally or crops grown regionally. So they'll take crops that they grow themselves or that are grown in the area, and that's what they make their food with. So not only do they spend their time together around the table with the meals that they've created, but they also take the time that they're growing it, that they're bringing the materials and everything together. They have that time to join and come together as one. However, with this use of their own materials and their own crops that they grow, there is often a surplus. And Spain will actually have an event called La Tomatina, which occurs in every August, the last Wednesday of every August. It started in 1945 in a parade with giants and big heads. That's another traditional one. They have so someone started back in 1945 where they didn't like what was going on during the parade, so they started throwing tomatoes. Similar to as you would see during like, a movie or a TV show, cartoon, something like where you don't like it, you'll throw a tomato from the tomato stand or vegetable stand nearby. That's what started originally. And then it stopped throughout the 50s and 60s and 70s, and then back in the 1980s, they brought it back as an actual thing that people can come to, they can buy tickets, they can come to it and then gather all together and work to throw the tomatoes and have fun together. Granted, it's only for an hour, it's between the hours of 11 and 12 o'clock. But during that time, you can come by, there's a large pile of tomatoes that's provided via truck, continuous trucks actually, and you'll take the tomatoes, you'll throw them back and forth. It gives times for everyone to come together, let down all their differences, and not worry about what's keeping them separated. And people from all over the world and all different cultures, religions, they can all come together and join in this one entertaining thing, but it's also a basis of food. Instead of coming together to eat a meal, and they are having fun and entertaining themselves with the tomato throwing and as a way to join each other and become one. Many people believe that this isn't a great idea, as there's a lot of tomatoes that are used, so they think it'll be wasteful. These tomatoes can go to better causes. They can go to people that are hungry, that don't have food, that need them, or it could also be involved with the mess as well. That's another big arguable thing. But however, whenever it's finished, once it hits 12 o'clock, as the rules state on tomatina.org, once it hits 12 o'clock, you can't do anything else. You cannot throw them, you cannot anything like that. You go home, you'll shower, you'll get ready, you'll get cleaned up, and then the streets will be washed off with water from fire trucks and different vehicles. They'll come through, wash it off. And not only is it moving all the tomatoes off to get rid of the mess, but the acidity within the tomatoes also helps to clean up the structures just a little bit from where they're sitting outside, and they have muck and they have everything else on them. With the tomatoes themselves, though, they're all older tomatoes, rotten tomatoes, things that aren't necessarily edible, so that's not really a big waste, as other people would see it, considering that if you ate them, it probably wouldn't have the greatest health benefits. By using it here, it gives them another use beyond their shelf life, so that once they go bad, instead of just throwing them out right away, they're able to become part of this event that happens annually. And that provides many opportunities for people from all over the world to come together. There's different tourists, there's different groups, countries all over the world. There's a website specifically, La Tomatina de Buñol, where you can go buy your tickets, you can get everything ready, they'll tell you the dates. This year, actually, it's August 31st, and it's the final Wednesday, which actually happens to be the final day of August this year. Another issue within this is that other countries across the world and other places have tried to recreate it themselves, but since they don't have the specific guidelines that Spain has, where they're older tomatoes, you can't throw bad objects, you can't pull people, you can't hurt people, all that, it often becomes a safety hazard for everyone else, and then that one does end up becoming wasteful, as that food could be used for something better, whereas these ones are all rotten and don't have a purpose besides being thrown away. And by doing this event and partaking in this event, it's another way of using food as a joint mechanism where people of all different cultures from all across the world can come together for this 1 hour. It's 1 hour a day. They can come together, they can have fun, they can enjoy themselves and be entertained, and then go home and come back again the next year. And I believe that this is a way to show that food has more meaning than just eating it, consuming it, and just having a meal around the table where you come, you'll sit, you'll eat, and then you'll leave. This provides a different option instead of having to just sit and be the normal way with it. They can have it for entertainment purposes, and then they can also like remember it later on instead of just their basic meal, which overall leads to food being more beneficial in life to different cultures than just for nourishment and for daily life functioning. So next time you're out and you see any sort of food, not tomato specifically, it doesn't have to be a tomato, it doesn't have to be anything you would normally see. Think about how it got there, the people that came together, that joined together to work to get it there, and then where it's going to go. Because it can go to a single person that eats it on their own, it can go to a larger family, it can go to friends, it can go to something similar to this event, or something different across the world. As many cultures have different preferences with their foods, and they all partake in different sorts of activities, this one in Spain is just one of many different options that food provides. Okay. Okay, great.